Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at a unique item which I've always thought was really cool, but it was a little lacking in some of the previous patches, and of course my camera wants to mess up right when I start my video. It's because the sun's coming up, and you know, little wee gingers are allergic to sunlight after all. And that is the Word of Hakan. The Word of Hakan is an interesting amulet that seems to be based around Rain of Arrows. Now, Rain of Arrows has had a lot of issues in the past. The fly just tried to eat my face. I had a lot of issues in the past, and the issues basically were around the activation time of it. And they definitely have kind of fixed the activation time a little bit. It doesn't have so much of a hitch anymore in its giddy up. And so it's actually a lot better, in my opinion, for use. You know, I haven't died to it. Let me put it that way. Like in previous patches, there has been a couple times where I literally just trying to fire Rain of Arrows and standing still too long could potentially end up getting me killed, and it did. On many occasions, so it's rather unfortunate. We're going to be going over it today, and we're going to be talking about the changes that they made to it and how much better it is than the previous versions. So first off, we have the ultimate skill damage, and the ultimate skill damage is 300%. The 300% ultimate damage does go up to 450 if you get a nice greater affix roll. And this is actually really handy to scale the No Witness passive if you're utilizing the No Witness Paragon node. The No Witness Paragon node is a really nice one for the rogue that basically allows you to scale your ultimate damage based on ultimate damage bonus. So your ultimate skills gain an additional 10% times damage from your damage with ultimate bonus. Grant this bonus to all skills for 10 seconds when cast, and it gives you a nice 45 times multiplier to everything for 10 seconds after you've used your ultimate. And this means that the amulet pretty much gives you everything that you need to get that 45 times multiplier, which is really nice. On top of this, we also have a really nice 67.5 to 90% chance to cast your Rain of Arrows twice, which is really, really nice. And as you can see from my amulet, I'm currently well over the 100% mark at 117% chance to cast twice. So you don't have to worry about really hitting that 100% mark. You're probably going to end up hitting it. On top of that, it also has a really nice Rain of Arrows cooldown, which varies between 29% to 42.5%. And if you get a really nice greater affix roll on that, you can see I have 87.1% Rain of Arrows cooldown reduction, and my Rain of Arrows is sitting at a toasty 12.5%. It cannot go down any further. Like, there is literally no cooldown reduction left to get. 75% is the highest amount of cooldown reduction you can get, and I'm even using Beastfall boots, and when I take off the Beastfall boots, it's still at 12.5% because I've already passed the cooldown reduction that I'm capable of obtaining. On top of this, it also has a pretty nice +3 to imbuement skills, which is very, very nice. And those imbuement skills, of course, are going to help out your damage tremendously with this ability because of the passive. So you're going to get a nice little +3 to your shadow, your poison, and your cold imbuement, which is not bad. On top of this, it also has a special effect, which is your Rain of Arrows is always imbued with all of the imbuements and receives your Arrow Storm benefits. And this was a new addition, the Arrow Storm benefits. So there are a bunch of random new or old, or whatever you want to call it, changed aspects that have to do with Arrow Storm. We're going to look at those real quick before we go on to the next part of this. Because basically what they do is they offer various benefits to damage outputs. And so if you go in here and you take a look at Arrow Storm, you probably just type in arrow. Of course, you're going to mess up on me. I hit the button. So we've got Aspect of Arrows, which is Lucky Hit. Your Marksman and Cutthroat skills have up to a 25% chance to create an Arrow Storm at the enemy's location, dealing a certain amount of damage over 3 seconds. But the main thing is that your Arrow Storms now deal 60% increased damage. So that 60% increased damage can apply to your Rain of Arrows if you're using the Word of Hakan. We also have the Aspect of Iron Rain, which is your Arrow Storms continuously apply vulnerable, which can also apply to the Word of Hakan. I think that's, yeah, we have this one too, which is the Vengeful Aspect, which is another one where your Arrow Storms deal 60% increased. So you can get a 120% increased damage to your ultimate skill, and you can also potentially get an additional like free vulnerability from your arrow storms. And of course, if you have all three of those aspects running, your Rain of Arrows is going to be also including all of those arrow storms as well. So you're going to have arrows just freaking everywhere. Now, I don't particularly like the arrow storms myself. So having the ability to scale your Rain of Arrows with a bunch of aspects isn't really as good as you would think, because it's 3 aspects. So you're still going to have to include 3 aspects somewhere, and that's where things get kind of dangerous, right? Well, it's not really necessary to take advantage of this amulet.
Mr. Goody Two Shoes, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Ginger Evil Mentor here. Why bother farming when you can go to MMOEXP.com and simply purchase your items in gold? GGM would have you farm the items. What a pathetic being. Use code GEM Ginger Evil Mentor for 6% off your entire purchase. And don't tell Ginger Gaming Mentor that I was here.
So, first thing you'll notice is that when you take off the amulet and you use Rain of Arrows, it doesn't really have any elemental damage to it. It just does physical damage, and it doesn't really even do that much. On top of that, if you wanted to potentially utilize it, you know, you can, let me go ahead and reset it quick. Doesn't take me but a second to reset it. If you wanted to utilize it with an imbuement before, you would have to use the imbuement, and then you would have to cast the ability with the imbuement, and that would allow Rain of Arrows to have access to that imbuement. And as you can see, it goes 2 times, and then it stops. With the Word of Hakan on, of course, you get a doubling of your Rain of Arrows, so it's going to cast twice, but not only does it do that, but it also imbues it with the shadow, the poison, and the cold imbuement all at once, which means you end up with something much more interesting. And let's go ahead and reset that again. And we're going to fire off our Rain of Arrows. And now you're going to notice that our damage is a hell of a lot better. We're also getting lots of little micro explosions. The monsters are getting frozen, they're getting chilled. We got a decent amount of poison damage on there. You can see like up to 1,000,000 proc. And it's definitely a very interesting option. Furthermore, past the obvious, there's other things that we can talk about. And before we do that, let's read the flavor text on it, because I always forget to do that. Let the great gates of Chaldeum be sealed. Let its proud walls stand fiercely defended. The rest of Kyrgyzstan may suffer this plague, but my city and my people will not. Proclamation of Hakan II. So what can you do other than this? Well, interestingly enough, there's a lot of various ways that you can take advantage of this, and one of them is through the Preparation H over here. We always call it that as a joke, but I don't know. Preparation just immediately brings to mind Preparation H. It just does. Like it's giggle. It's okay. So spend 75 energy to reduce your ultimate skills cooldown by 5 seconds. Ultimate skills reset other cooldowns and grant 15% damage reduction for 10 seconds. So an interesting thing about this is that not only are you getting a very short cooldown on your Rain of Arrows, but if I have, say, for instance, used all my cooldowns, and I use Rain of Arrows, all of my cooldowns are now reset. On top of this, you also have the Aftermath passive, which gives you a very nice restoration of 75 energy back every single time you use your ultimate ability, which is also going to be very nice. On top of this, it also functions very well to just kind of get lucky hit bonuses. I know it says that it's only a 6% lucky hit, but that's kind of a lie, because I see the lucky hits go off all the time. What it is it's only like a 6% lucky hit per strike, and it hits like over and over again, and you get like 2 waves, and it just ends up being so much more, so much better. It's a very effective ability to just apply random effects to monsters. Like, for instance, you'll notice when I fire this, a lot of the monsters end up frozen, right? All 4 of the monsters ended up frozen. Or 5, sorry, I'm bad not counting there. That's because I have a lucky hit of a 60% chance to freeze enemies. If it was really just simply like a 6% chance for lucky hit, why would all 5 of them be frozen almost instantaneously? You know what I mean? I'm also utilizing, though, the the shared misery, which helps to share those lucky hit procs with other monsters. So let's take that off real quick and let's try it again. And as you can see, they're still all frozen. So obviously the Rain of Arrows has a lot higher lucky hit than you would think. There's also a lot of synergy bonuses that can be used between Rain of Arrows and the way that a lot of the abilities work. And this comes in the form of aspects. And we're going to talk about some of those aspects real quick and how the multiple imbuements can potentially be used to help enhance your damage output through the fact that they're applying all the imbuements at one time. A lot of these come from the Alchemist aspect, is what I like to call them. So if you type in Alchemist... the Alchemist aspects are the Icy Alchemist aspect, which is Shadow-imbued skills. And, of course, it's Shadow-imbued because it is, of course, imbued by all the imbuements, right? Have up to a 75% chance to release an explosion that deals 3,609 cold damage to the target and surrounding enemies, chilling them for 25% as it does. If they were already chilled or frozen, which is very useful, they increase the damage instead by 100% times. So you get a huge bump in the damage if they're already frozen. Well, guess what? I froze every single monster every single time I shot the Rain of Arrows. So you end up getting lots of nice explosions from this that are doing cold damage, and the damage of it ends up being multiplied because they're already frozen. Toxic Alchemist aspect, which is also one, is Shadow-imbued skills have up to a 75% chance to create a toxic explosion that deals up to 2,206 poisoning damage over 5 seconds to the target and surrounding enemies. And if they were already poisoned, which of course they're going to be, because your Rain of Arrows is poisoning everything, then the poisoning is increased by 100% times. There is also another one, which is the aspect of the Burning Venoms, which is poison-imbued skills have up to a 50% chance to create a toxic pool that deals up to 13,634 poisoning damage over 3 seconds to the enemies within. While standing in the pool, you get unlimited poison imbuements, which is really nice. But it also just puts puddles all over the place, which is pretty cool. And there's a lot of different ways that you can potentially utilize this to your advantage, because of course you have everything is poisoned, everything is hit by shadow damage, everything is cold, and everything is chilled and frozen. And everything is nicely crowd controlled too, of course. And on top of all that, you're also utilizing the Rain of Arrows to reset all of your cooldowns so they can be spammed. The Subterfuge skill can be used to spawn things like your Umbracrux totem. It can be used to spam the Writhing Agony trap that taunts monsters in, and all sorts of other things. And further synergies come into play with something like the Beastfall boots. Now, the Beastfall boots are one of the really nice pair of boots that were added back in, I think, Season 4, and they've been beefed up even further. And I'm not sure if I've done a video on them yet, but of course I probably will. But we're going to briefly talk about them in respect to the Word of Hakan, because quite honestly, the Word of Hakan is absolutely excellent when it comes to the Beastfall boots. So the Beastfall boots allow you to consume all of your resource and fire off an attack that does a lot more damage based on the resource that you're firing off. And in this way, you can basically just massively restore your resource and also do tons of damage through that ultimate skill of the Word of Khan. Now, let me kind of like highlight the synergy between these two items to a massive degree. Using preparation, I'm able to reset the cooldown of my ultimate skill almost instantaneously. When I use the ultimate skill, I get most of my energy back, but it also spends everything in the process because the Aftermath ability gives me a bunch of energy when I activate my ultimate skill. As soon as I fire my core skill, I now spend all of my energy. It's all gone. However, because the Beastfall boots allow me to restore 25 energy per cooldown, and the preparation ability allows me to reset all of my cooldowns every single time, you see where I'm going with this? It ends up in an infinite loop, and there's nothing that can stop me. And let me show you how this works in reality once you get everything running. The Word of Hakan, the Andariel's Visage, the Frosties, the Icy Alchemist aspect, the Bursting Venoms aspect, which is what I'm using on this one because I like the little puddles, and the Beastfall boots. It actually works absolutely wonderfully. So let's go ahead and pull up multiple training dummies here because my build works best with multiple enemies. And we're going to just simply annihilate. I'm going to hold down the button. It might be a little loud, just a warning in advance, but let's go ahead and just blast away, shall we? So first thing, we're going to start out with our Rain of Arrows, and we're going to hold down the pen shot button. As you can see, I've created a feedback loop. There is literally no end to the number of times I can use my abilities. There is literally no end to the number of times I can use my ultimate. My ultimate is always up when I need it. My cooldowns are always up when I need them. My energy is always full. And my damage is actually not too bad at like 15 million on my poison dots. And tons and tons and tons of damage that is going off, like, incidentally, as far as the explosions, the cold explosions, the shadow explosions, the victimized explosions, and basically the whole lot. And this build is honestly not even min-maxed at all. There's so much more that I could do to make this build stronger, and I really just haven't gotten around to it yet. One of the things I was planning on doing was cutting out the eagle horn, because I feel like the eagle horn might actually be holding me back a little bit. I'm probably going to go with the creeping death aspect to enhance the poison a little bit further. But honestly, when it comes to this particular unique, I am very, very impressed with the Word of Hakan. If you're looking for this one, what you really want is either the Rain of Arrows cooldown, the imbuement skills, or the ultimate damage. You don't really want a greater affix on the Rain of Arrows because it's always going to hit 100% anyway. The Rain of Arrows cooldown is really where the money lies because that gets you to your 75%, which is going to bring that down to 12.5, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you to be able to spam it, keep that thing up constantly. The imbuement skills is probably second because that's going to obviously get you more poison, more shadow damage. It doesn't actually do anything for the cold, believe it or not. It just kind of increases the chill duration or whatever. The ultimate damage is probably third on the list because it's going to be an additive bonus, but it obviously is still going to give you some damage bonus. And your ultimate damage is also going to apply to you with all of your skills. So when it comes to the No Witness passive, as I talked about earlier, you get all that damage bonus is essentially being applied directly to you. That 45% multiplier is applied to you as long as you can keep your ultimate active. And as you can clearly see, I have no problem keeping my ultimate active once every 10 seconds. In fact, it's probably firing off well more than once every 10 seconds. I'd love to see how far I can push this build because I think it's absolutely an amazingly fun build. But I will say that Word of Hakan is definitely better than the previous iterations. And I am having a lot of fun with this build. I'm having a lot of fun with my my Word of Hakan rogue so far. I think Rain of Arrows is absolutely excellent now. It's way better than the previous patches where it hitched up and it kind of got you locked into death loops and stuff like that. If you're wondering where this particular amulet comes from, I'm going to go over that really quickly with the target farming tool over on Diablo 4.live. If you click on Rogue and you go ahead and click on the Word of Hakan, it's going to tell you that the Word of Hakan comes from Beast in the Ice and Grigore. So if you're hunting for a really nice Word of Hakan, check out Grigore and Beast in the Ice and see if you can get one from them. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me for these fun little videos. Be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you enjoy the content. It really helps keep the channel running and the light bills on. And as always, keep watching.